Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this video I'm going to talk about the Hearthstone Standard rotation, and I'm going to talk about what it means for Paladin class in particular. I will be making videos of all classes in the near future, so stay tuned if you want to hear more about these things. So what is the Standard rotation all about? The Standard rotation is going to happen in April 2019, when the next new expansion of Hearthstone will arrive. And then we will have one new expansion in the Standard format, and 3 expansions will leave the Standard format, those that were published in 2017. So Journey to Ungaro, Knights of the Frozen Throne and Kobolds and Catacombs will be gone. This is a particularly significant rotation, because the 2017 expansions are known for their extremely high power level. So we're going to lose a lot of powerful cards in the metagame, a lot of less powerful cards will remain. Of course, there's one expansion that we don't know about yet, but this should shake up the meta a fair bit. And in this video I'm going to take a look at the key cards that are leaving the format from Paladin perspective, key cards that are going to be staying in the format, again from Paladin perspective, and what this means for the existing Paladin decks that are being played right now. While we don't have the new expansion details yet, I can also speculate a little bit about what that might mean for some potential archetypes. So if you're interested in these sort of things, then watch on. The first leaving expansion, Journey to Ungaro, is a really big deal for Paladin, because all of this stuff is from Journey to Ungaro. Sunkeeper Tarim, perhaps the strongest Paladin legendary card, Vine Cleaver, an incredibly powerful card for Old Paladin, Spiked Steed, a card that has seen play in mid-range archetypes, in control archetypes, in all sorts of Paladin decks. Hydrologist, also a control archetype card, an aggressive archetype card, mid-range archetype card. Very powerful. And even though it's a neutral one, then Stonehill Defender, it's almost a Paladin card anyway, right? Because it's the tool that Odd Paladin uses to pick up more copies of Sunkeeper Tarim. But they are both departing the Standard format and will only be available in Wild. I'm not going to showcase every single card that leaves, just what I consider to be the most important picks. But this is one big expansion of Paladin to lose. Knights of the Frozen Throne is going to be a big expansion for every class to lose, because that means that the original hero cards, the Death Knight hero cards, are going to rotate out. Paladin is going to lose Uther of the Ebon Blade. Otherwise, Paladin didn't get a lot of good class cards in Knights of the Frozen Throne. Mostly Righteous Protector has been seeing a lot of play. But on the neutral side, there's the Lich King and there's the Corpse Taker. And Corpse Taker has been a mainstay of so many decks, including multiple Paladin archetypes such as Secret Paladin and even Paladin. And losing that early minion with its Divine Shield and Wind Fury when properly buffed, that is a big deal, losing a lot of explosiveness. Kobolds and Catacombs is another huge hit to Paladin. Losing Linessa, well, Linessa hasn't really seen that much play in the meta recently, but has still been a pretty good card in any viable control Paladin builds that they have been. Losing Valanir, the legendary weapons are leaving. Valanir has been a big card. Losing Call to Arms, okay, a massive card, especially in Secret Paladin right now. Losing Unidentified Maul, which is a Secret Paladin and Odd Paladin staple. And on the neutral side, Corridor Creeper is going to be leaving, which has been a very big card in Odd Paladin, actually the most highest win rate card in the entire deck. All of that stuff might be gone, but it's also useful to remind ourselves of what's going to stay. Of course, there's the classic set that's always going to stay, but there's also 3 rotating sets from 2018 that will still stay in Standard format for another year. And in the Witchwood, need I mention that Witchwood has Baku and Gen? I suppose not. Baku and Gen have been discussed so much in every possible media by now. But looking at just Paladin cards mostly, then there's still the Glass Knight. Glass Knight is a good legendary card. It's not overpowered, it's nothing that you really build your deck around, but it's a card that still fits in a lot of decks. Then there's Bellringer Sentry, one of the key cards of Secret Paladin right now, but Secret Paladin is losing a fair bit, but it doesn't lose the Sentry, so there's something that could be built upon, especially if the first expansion of the new year supports the team in any way. Prince Liam is going to be staying, and Prince Liam has a couple of interesting applications that I will talk about later in this video. Witch's Cauldron is still here, a great value card for Odd Paladin. And it's a neutral card as well, but Baleful Banker. Baleful Banker is the key piece in Holy Ratcher Vala combos, and it's staying. The Boomsday project is a very interesting expansion that's going to stay, because it features some of these cards that are not seeing that much play right now, but that could. Well, Crystalsmith Kangor and Ciliax are seeing a lot of play, but Mechano Egg and Kangor's Endless Army are not, so there's some room still to build these sorts of mech paladin archetypes, even though Spiritzinger Umbra and the Carnivorous Cube will be rotating out, but still something stays of that team. And then there is of course Rastakhan's Rumble, the latest expansion at this point, Shivala the Tiger, Spirit of the Tiger, which has not seen a ton of play but was actually part of No Hands Gamers' very recent #1 Legend Even Paladin build, so it's still hanging around. There's still Timeout, and one neutral card that I especially want to feature here is Hakar the Soul Flayer, because there have been some Hakar Paladin builds and that might be very interesting in the post-rotation meta as well. Looking at the decks themselves, I've tried to just pull some of the most popular lists. I don't necessarily agree that these are the best possible lists for these archetypes, but at least they are the most popular ones. So, Odd Paladin. And as you can see, quite a lot of this is going away. Actually, the majority of the deck is going away. However, I don't think Odd Paladin is in trouble. I don't think Odd Paladin is going to be in any trouble unless Baku the Mooneater is nerfed. And of course Baku the Mooneater might be nerfed, but if you have Baku and it gets nerfed, you get a dust refund, so it's okay, you don't mind. Because there are some cards that are staying that are not included in this build, for example, such as Prince Liam. Prince Liam has been included in many Odd Paladin builds with quite good success, and the same can be said of Witch's Cauldron. Already these tech cards that exist in the archetype, and they are going to be staying, and you still have ways to build your decks around those. And also, because the Boomsday project is staying, it might be more viable to just pivot into the Mech Odd Paladin. Some people are already playing Mech Odd Paladin. It's not a terrible deck by any means, it's just not quite as good as the regular build. But putting in stuff like Glowtrons, putting in stuff like War Gears, there's plenty of mechs in the Boomsday project that you can fit into the Odd Paladin shell, and you can just pivot the deck a little bit and Odd Paladin can perfectly well live on. Secret Paladin is in a bit of a tougher spot. It doesn't lose as many cards numerically as Odd Paladin, but the ones that it loses are very important for it. Corpse Taker, that Corpse Taker Blessing of Kings has been such an important move for the deck and just pushing that damage. Call to Arms thins the deck, gets an instant tempo swing. Fungamance's Sunkeeper Tarim, Vine Cleaver, even Unidentified Maul, and Hydrologist, because when you have a deck that runs Secret Keeper, you want some secrets. Hydrologist enables you to put in secrets into your deck without actually putting secrets into your deck, because you can just Hydrologist to create some. So even though Secret Paladin retains Spellringer Sentry, which is a very central card to the deck, then actually I think this one is taking a much bigger hit than Odd Paladin, and I don't see how Secret Paladin can survive this, but there's still one more expansion to come, so a little bit of support and it might be able to do it still. Even Paladin also loses a number of good cards. Hydrologist, Corpse Taker. That Corpse Taker loss is going to hurt all the archetypes that run it a lot. Saronite Chaingun, but after Saronite Chaingun was nerfed, it was no longer quite as central in even Paladin anyway. But Spikerid Steed. Spikerid Steed is actually a pretty big deal, because it has been a very, very solid card for all the matchups where you need to be doing some defending, or if you want to defend some of your Windfury minions from being attacked. So that's a major loss, and Valanier for those slower matchups against stuff like Odd Warrior, that's going to be a pretty big loss as well. But even and Odd are just so incredibly powerful archetypes. I played even Paladin deck without any epics, so I have played even Paladin decks without Corpse Takers already, playing budget even Paladin decks, running including the Spirit of the Tiger. And those decks can be pretty impressive. Considering the Spirit of the Tiger build in particular, the loss of Spikerid Steed is actually the biggest thing, because will Paladin have good enough spells to make good use of the Spirit of the Tiger? There is stuff like Sound the Bells, there's stuff like Avenging Wrath, so there is some potential there for sure, but is it going to be enough? Overall though, these even and odd decks, unless Baku and Gen are going to be nerfed, are some very solid decks that you can just put in the best stuff that you happen to have available into them, and they will likely do well. So I would predict even Paladin to survive this round as well. However, OTK DK Paladin, it's dead. It loses a bunch of cards. Well, okay, it doesn't really matter about any of these others, but Uther of the Ebonblade is gone. And without Uther of the Ebonblade, there's no OTK, so this archetype is completely dead. Can some kind of control paladin be built instead? Maybe, we don't know exactly yet, but OTK DK, that's gone. Much more interesting is the Holy Wrath Paladin, because actually Holy Wrath Paladin doesn't lose a whole lot. Righteous Protectors, yeah. Potions of Heroism, okay, that's some draw and nice pyromancy combos, okay, it hurts a little bit. Soul of the Gorgon, that actually hurts quite a lot, because you have often wanted to play Shirvala, make a copy of Shirvala, then you have mini Shirvalas, and that sort of stuff is usually quite useful. And Uther of the Ebonblade, being able to swing that weapon to face, put the opponent down to 25, and then Holy Wrath them down with Shirvala from 25. Some useful things are going away. But as you can see, the deck maintains most of its core cards, it maintains most of its draw. Crystology, Flash of Light, Prismatic Lens, Hammer of Wrath, Holy Wrath, all of that is still there, and the main combo is completely untouched. You can still Baleful Banker your Shirvala back into your deck, and you can then shoot Shirvala from the deck with Holy Wrath. And you can still do that on 2 consecutive turns for 25 damage plus 25 damage. So this is one combo deck that is going to survive, or at least its combo is going to survive the rotation. Right now it has often been forced to use either of its win conditions because it has had that 4 Horseman win condition too to beat stuff like Odd Warriors. But we don't know what Odd Warrior is going to look like after the rotation either. So if there are no decks that can withstand 50 damage over 2 turns, then this might just do fine. Those were the most common Paladin archetypes. That doesn't mean that that's all that Paladin can do. Of course, there will probably be some new avenues opened by the new expansion, but already from the existing cards, for example, Hakar Paladin has seen a little bit of play. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. So you have Hakar the Soul Flayer, you shuffle Corrupted Bloods into each player's decks, and you can remove your own Corrupted Bloods with Prince Liam. And actually this sort of control paladin looks very, very interesting post-rotation, because King Togbagal is going away, so no one's going to take away your deck, and Mechatoon is staying. And what Mechatoon needs? Mechatoon needs an empty deck. And if you Hakar before they Mechatoon, they can't empty their deck. So this sort of Hakar Prince Liam control paladin looks like something very interesting post-rotation. Another thing is the mech paladin. We have this sort of mech control paladin. Okay, it's going to lose the Carnivore's Cube, but the egg is still there, Kangor's Endless Army is still there, and perhaps the expansion will open up enough room for including something like the Undertaker, which could then also summon some 8/8 mechs when it dies. So having those Mechano eggs, Ciliaxes, being able to both resurrect them and get their death rattles to use multiple times might be something that allows a control style paladin build to flourish in the post-rotation meta. Paladin also has tools to build a couple of other archetypes, but I don't think they will be good enough. One of them would be some sort of Healadin type of control deck, because you have High Priest Tekal, so you can turn your health into armor, which then allows you to start healing up. And you have stuff like Zandalari Templar, which is a 4-mana 8/8 with Taunt when properly buffed, so it's something interesting, but it was already interesting when these cards were released with Rastakhan's Rumble, and it didn't turn out to be very good at all. So even though the power level is going to go down now with the 2017 Superb expansions rotating out, I still don't expect Healadin to be a thing, but it's something to keep in mind if you want to experiment after the rotation. And another thing that you might want to experiment with after the rotation would be Dragon Paladin, because Cathedral Gargoyle is still staying, Battle Cry, if you're holding a dragon, gain Taunt and Divine Shield. And that is an interesting 2-drop, but is it going to be enough? What kind of dragons do we have available? There's a bunch of dragons that are going to rotate out as well. Although we already lost the Primordial Drake Equality combo with the Equality nerf, you can't fit them in the same turn anymore. Primordial Drake is now going away. So that's something really unrefined, but still, there are some cards that would support the idea of a Dragon Paladin, and that's something to keep in mind when we get reveals of the next expansion. The next rotation and expansion looks really interesting, and this is my overall view of what it looks like for Paladin, so lots of interesting things. I will be making these for all classes in the near future, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.